Welcome to episode 8 of season 11 of the Comm-UNITY podcast hosted by CivSource Africa. For those that have been with us from episode 1 of season 11, you know that this season focuses on reflections from the past 10 seasons of the podcast. The past 7 episodes have opened us up to the power of generosity within communities, acts of service by leaders. We even tapped into what the less privileged or the persons with disabilities are doing in their communities. Episode 6, we talked about the youth, and we also had a chance to look into what creatives in and around Africa are doing to foster giving in their communities. An aspect we haven't dived deep into is the power of the collective. What happens when a community of thought partners carry a vision that seeks to explore giving for public good? So season 8 of the Comm-UNITY podcast captured the tales of generosity from Rotary clubs across Uganda. And in this episode, I'm privileged to host another great member of the CivSource Africa family. He is a Rotarian, a thought leader, an advisor, a father, a global fellow, and also a senior lawyer. Well, the list is endless. I could go on and on for about another 20 or so minutes. Dear listeners, join me in welcoming Malcolm Twino Mpamizo. Hello, Malcolm. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you, Antonio. How are you?
I am very well. It's a privilege to get you and to host you in the community.
I am honored to be a part of this, having been on the other side of the mic in previous seasons. I'm excited to be hosted this time round.
Wow.
Yes.
So I know that a couple of our listeners may not have tuned into season 8, and this is a good time for them to just pause and go back to any of our social media platforms at CivSource Africa and dive deep into what the great work that you do in season 8. But for those that haven't gotten there yet, they would love to know, who is Malcolm and what does Malcolm do at CivSource Africa?
Well, Malcolm is all those things that you have mentioned, and then some. Okay. But really, Malcolm Mpamizo, I am part of the team at CivSource, really the family at CivSource Africa. It's always exciting to spread out and be a part of all the different programs that we have at CivSource. I primarily support the advisory department at CivSource. I'm a philanthropy advisor working with funders and philanthropists that are looking to support social justice areas and human rights areas within East Africa. And so I prefer advice to them on how they can go about that. Being in context, we do provide bespoke support to them, which they can then be able to use to translate into strategies that they can be able to deploy. We also work very closely with the civil society organizations that implement these social justice issues and human rights areas. So that's primarily my role at CivSource Africa.
Wow. Doesn't sound very simple, eh? So Malcolm, in season 8, let's just dive right in. In season 8, you take us on a journey to understand how Rotary clubs across the country are contributing to what we may term as philanthropy, others may call, generosity, and others are even looking deeper and saying to the development of the nation. Yeah. So even before we get into what season 8 was like for you, what's your story with Rotary? How?
Well, it's a long one. I've been a part of Rotary for maybe over the last 20 years. Wow. I started in Rotary as an interactor while at St. Mary's College, Kisubi. Okay. That is in the 90s. Okay. Sometime back. Okay. I later on joined Rotaract while at Makerere University, where I served as president of the Rotary Club of Makerere University. I left an institution-based club, which Makerere University was, and joined a community-based club, also in Rotaract. For those that have left university, left institutions of learning. Okay. So I joined the Rotary Club of Kampala, the CORE. CORE is CORE, Community Oriented Rotaract Engine. So it was an acronym for the work that we used to do in the community.
Okay.
So I joined that club as well. I went on to lead Rotaract in the district. So Rotary has districts as part of the organization, and the district had 5 countries: Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and Eritrea.
Okay.
So I led Rotaract, young people under 30, for a period of 1 year.
Okay.
And then I later on joined Rotary. I'm now a member in good standing at the Rotary Club of Chiwatule. So it's a long history of a lot of encounters with different people in different countries, looking at how communities are being changed by the work that 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 people are doing together. So being able to come together collectively and support a particular end is something that Rotary really, really stands for. Being able to use your profession, your vocation to be able to support communities in various ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. So just to chip that in now, you are starting season 8. You come up with your list like we always do of who I'm going to host. What did you have in mind for season 8? Any highlights and what are your thoughts around how what was captured in the community podcast was like?
Well, I think it was exciting, as I'm sure it was for all the other hosts across the different seasons. But more so for me because I was getting to discuss something that I'm passionate about with people I know are passionate about it.
Okay.
I think that the Rotary story hasn't really been told. In recent years, there's a lot of conversation around it. It has really grown. So many more clubs, so many more members of Rotary. But the ethos of Rotary itself, I think, is something that is not very well discussed and understood. And so this felt like an opportunity to be able to bring together minds that are able to explain the ethos of Rotary a little bit more, and how, like you talked about, the power of collective giving, how $1 or $2 in one Rotary club, because of the over 1.2 million Rotarians worldwide. So $1 in one Rotary club can get multiplied into $100,000 and go into a life-saving project or a community transforming project. So that power of collective giving is something that I thought that particular season would be able to focus on. And it was really exciting. So we had a cross range of participants in that particular season, from urban-based clubs within Kampala and the surroundings. I was able to speak to a member of a club in Kabale. I was able to speak to a member of a club in Arua as well. So a member of a club in Soroti. So being able to see how Rotary gets into the communities. So you don't have Rotary clubs in the center only, and that's where the work is going on. No, it's happening in different places, everyone with the bit that they can be able to put together, different partnerships, how Rotary has taken the corporate world by storm and is supporting an annual cancer fundraising drive that has built a cancer ward in Zambia, that has built our second only blood bank in Mengo, and several other different facilities in different hospitals. There's a lot of work that Rotary is doing, and true to what CivSource wants to do, this is an opportunity to tell that story. Yes.
Wow. Well, I know you've already chipped into the great work that Rotary clubs from across the country are doing, all the way from building the cancer ward, setting up the blood bank, and a number of other drives that Rotary clubs from across the country are doing. So I know that this is a good time for our listeners to just pause. If you're a Rotarian, a Rotaractor, an Interactor listening in, this is a good time for you to pause, get to any of our social media sites at CivSource Africa, and listen into season 8 and listen to the stories from your fellow Rotarians and what they share about Rotary giving. So I know that many of us, myself included, have been pondering on the thought of joining Rotary. You know, I think this is a good moment for you to now say, okay, I'm a Rotarian, I've been at it for over 20 years. Why would a listener who is listening in for the first time and are hearing about Rotary, why should they or would you interest them in joining a Rotary club?
That's a fantastic question. And I think I did ask a few of the guests on the season that particular question. But one of the questions that I think is more important, because many people get invited to Rotary Club meetings. Many people attend the meetings who are not even members, because it's not an exclusive club for only members to attend. And many people join Rotary for one reason or another, and then they end up leaving Rotary. So many times the question I ask those who have stayed is, why did you stay? So what kept you in Rotary? And so when you ask me that question, it goes really to the heart of why I feel so passionately about Rotary. I joined Rotary off a whim. In high school, it was an opportunity to get out of school and go to an event. So it was nice to do. So I got part of that. I won't claim the moral high ground and say I was looking to change certain lives. That was a plus at the time. And and Interact itself in schools had that that aura around it of young people that come together, that have a good time together, but also get to support communities or even the students themselves within the school. It got a bit more serious when I joined Rotaract, because I got to see through then how the little, because we were an institution-based club, a Rotary Club of Makerere University, but being able to see how the power of many contributing a little can transform a community. It was simple things like helping. There was a gentleman I remember who used to repair shoes at Livingstone Hall, and he had such a very shabby working space for himself. And one of our vocational service awards. So vocational service award within Rotary is an award that goes to someone who goes over and above their vocation, their profession, and are doing good for the community. So this gentleman had been serving for nearly 20 years at the university, was liked by everybody. He was a friend to everyone, used to store luggage for students who would not be able to carry their luggage away. But he was disabled. And he had a family as well. And so what we did as the club was we came together, collected some money, and then spoke to other Rotary clubs to also contribute. And when they did that, we were able to transform his workspace, which was his home as well. But it was basically his living space. We were able to get him a latrine close to his house, because he used to have to travel a bit of a distance to be able to go and do that. And so just really appreciating the person that he is in the community, not necessarily the work that he does, but the person that he was, because he had gone beyond the work. It was beyond the cobbler that he was, but he was a friend, he was a mentor, he was a father, he was, very many things. And so being able to transform a life like that, there were several students who were unable to go through school and needed school fees support. We used to provide some of that as well as Rotary Club of Makerere University. And looking at your fellow student who you're going to sit with in an exam or play soccer with in the evening, and you're wondering what their future is going to be like. And you're sure that you cannot be able to do enough alone to be able to make that difference. But you come together as 30, 40, 50 members of the club. And actually, during my time as president, the club grew from about 15 members to about 45. Because we were on a membership drive. It was about growing the numbers, knowing that the more you have in there, then the more resources you're able to collect from the many students in there, and be able to do so much more. So that's what got me into it. That's what made me stay. And over the years, there's been all sorts of small events that really reminded me that it's very meaningful to still be there. It is the fellowships that we have, where in Rotary, you're Rotarian first than anything else. So once you get into the club and you're in that club, it doesn't matter what titles you're coming into the club with. In my club, we have prominent judges as members, prominent CEOs, bank managers, but when you're in the club, all of that is shut down, and it is Malcolm and Antonio, members of the club. You're having conversations. You're having access to certain echelons of power that you wouldn't have access to, but for Rotary. So Rotary is about using business acquaintance to develop the community. So it's not about coming together and simply help the community, but it is how does it benefit you as an individual, so that you can be able to do better and even contribute more. So there's a constant growth in there. We have our weekly meetings where you have different conversations on different topics, and all of those culminate into a well-rounded, growing human being that is willing to give more and more to their community.
Wow. What a pitch. Well, if you're listening in and you're just like me, find the nearest club to you and sign up. I don't know how to sign up, but find the nearest club to you and sign up. And again, for those that may be listening in at this particular moment and you would want to know more about Rotary, it's an opportunity for you to just check out a Rotary club near you. But also, if you are listening in and you're part of a Rotary club and you'd want to tell your story, at CivSource Africa, we are passionate about telling those stories. So reach out to us on any of our social media platforms and share your story with us. That's very good. So Malcolm, as we conclude our conversation, before I'm converted to Rotary, any final words? We have a number of listeners, not just only from Rotary clubs, but any final words to our listeners on what African philanthropy, giving the African way, or our cultures of giving as Africans can better be exemplified in our daily life. Would you have any final words around that?
Well, I think I would again try and relate that to the topic of the day, which is Rotary and the power of collective giving.
Yes.
That in Africa, traditionally, we are a community first. Before you are a human being, you are a member of a community. That is where you draw your identity from, and then that goes on to define your convictions, define your principles, and define who you are and your impact in the world. I think that because of that, our giving becomes even more powerful because there's no self-aggrandizement in the giving. It's not about me and how I feel at the end of the day. No, it's about the benefit of the community. You feel the desire to give because of others, not necessarily because of you. And so that is something that is very similar to what happens in Rotary, that it's about the power of the collective. And when you come into and belong to any community, yes, there are definitely rules and regulations that you must follow to maintain your membership, whether it is a member of a clan, a tribe, a village, or a Rotary club. But once you are united in mind about what you want to achieve, then it is limitless what you can be able to achieve. I have seen a Rotary club raise $1,000 from within its members and team up with another Rotary club in another district, which also raised another $1,000. And then that is presented to a Rotary club in the Western world where they are able to raise a lot more. So you have a total of about maybe 20,000 raised by Rotarians, individual Rotarians. And that is matched by the Rotary Foundation to a tune of $1 million.
Wow.
And you have a dental facility at Mulago being donated by a Rotary Club, which only raised $1,000 from within. Now that is the power of collective giving. You have a Rotarian who sits down with a group of others and comes up with the idea of a cancer run, a run that is about raising awareness. Cancer is something that has affected nearly each and every one. And so it is something that is very close to everyone would want to be able to give to something like that. And so just being able to bring people together, and they are buying kits at 20,000 shillings. But that is building an entire ward in Zambia with all and fully equipping it, and it becomes a state-of-the-art cancer ward dedicated to cancer. That happened with the blood bank as well. It has happened for climate change and tree planting. There are several different causes that Rotary has rallied people, and that's what it does. It just rallies people together around a particular cause, and we're able to see a transformation there. So I think that would be my parting shot, that can we continue to believe in the power of the collective? On our own, we would want to do much, but so much more can be done when we do things together. Yeah, so can we just maintain that idea that the more the hands, certainly the more the work, but also the more the reward.
Wow. Aish! So if you are listening in now and you're as excited by me to join a Rotary Club, this would be a good time. But also to tune in to season 8 of the Comm-UNITY podcast and journey with Malcolm and listen to through the interviews that he did with the different Rotarians and Rotary leaders from across Uganda. It's been a pleasure hosting you, Malcolm.
Thank you, Tony. It's been an honor being a part of this.
Yes. Yeah. Glad to always have you on the Comm-UNITY. Dear listeners, it's been a pleasure hosting you. Please reach out to any of our social media platforms at CivSource Africa. Get the best of the Comm-UNITY podcast, the past 10 seasons, but then also listen in to how best you could share your story with us. We'll be glad to receive those messages. All the best.
Thank you, Antonio.